let's go back to why this 20-year-old's not allowed to love Buffy just as much as you did.
Oh no, I didn't say they weren't allowed. Stop trying to pick fights, you
Yeah, just show the credits. Let's get the credits. Who cares?
Your
They're too
credits,
young.
your
Just
Maz.
Gen Z.
What generation? What are we?
Why?
Are we millennial? Oh no,
But we were called millennial, but it's Generation Y.
Generation Y.
Our parents are Generation. Yeah.
Remember that Spice Girls song that was like, Generation Next, Generation Next, a generation. Generation, yeah. Sorry, did you feel like Mel C was in the room with you? Just get my face wide. Like it's about to be stretched by girth.
No, like your ma.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 27 of Up the Buff. And today we're focusing on season 2, episode 15.
I'm gonna have to get you to do all that again because I happen to be looking at my phone just for doing all that.
Oh right, I would have just cut to the close up of me anyway. Yeah.
I do actually love the way you do that.
Last week we had our first problem, not that the audience would have realized, but behind the scenes we had our first problem because we got copyright striked by Disney.
Oh shit, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I had to kind of go back and make a background and flip the stuff. So
basically get around the copyright.
But yes, this week we're talking about the episode Phases, which is episode 15 of season 2, and it premiered on January 27th, 1998. And it's written by the co-writers Rob Deshotel and Dean Batali, and directed by Bruce Seth Green. So it is. Anyway, should we jump into the episode?
This just felt like it was just a grand episode.
Yep, you hate it.
We open with Oz looking in the trophy cabinet. And we get our call back.
Caught it. And exactly what it was about is with the cheerleader mum. Caught it.
Yeah.
Because he said that, I was like, have they not already done this? And then it was like, oh, it's just a little callback. Fuck. Loved it.
I thought you'd like that. I remember at the time being like, oh, they call back to this. Like, wait.
You did tell me that. That's right. You're like, whenever at the very end, I think I slobbered, like, so she's just there and no one's going to say anything. He's like, well, actually, they've had to call back to her at some point later on. I was like, right, Tony, calm down.
Oh my God, I thought that was me talking. That was a double my voice. I like that Oz says its eyes follow you wherever you go, which is quite funny. I just love the idea of her being stuck in there forever, being like...
I also love the idea. I also quite like the fact that Oz feels like they've introduced Oz to be the audience. Because he seems to be going like, okay, so there's vampires then? Okay, I'm down for that. And then it's like, okay, werewolves, okay. And it's like, he's pointing out he's noticing the things that have happened over the years or something. He's almost meta-ish or breaking the fourth wall-ish.
It's funny that you said that because in looking at some interviews online from the writers about this episode, they said one of the things they loved doing with Oz was that he commented on the absurdity of everything.
Yes, that's it. He's the absurdist.
Yeah, but that was a great way for you to kind of like he is like the audience being like WTF. We got this cute little scene with Oz and Willow, and all I can focus on is just how Oz is such a sexy short king. He's just...
You love a short king.
I do love a short king because they're not usually short all over.
And Martin Short King. Sorry.
So I don't know why I turned into a monkey there for a second.
Hi.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
He is just so charismatic. I love him. He's my new favorite. Oz is my favorite.
Yeah, he's charismatic carpenter. Oh my God, Jesus was a charismatic carpenter.
I heard someone say this funny thing when they were like, whenever they introduced the plot point of him being a carpenter, I thought that was going to come in at the end whenever he was on the cross. Like he was going to get himself down. So it's like, so really him being a carpenter is pointless. Like someone critiquing the Bible as if it's like a story, like Chekhov's carpenter.
Yeah, but the finish on that cross, it was oak with a nice veneer.
The wood grain.
Oh, yes. So Larry, the school jock, comes over, and on his way over, he knocks his books out of this girl's hands so he can like basically perv on her.
Oh, thank you, Thigh Master.
Sorry, I don't know why I said perv like I was fucking Malfoy saying Potter. Larry says Willow's got to be putting out, or what's the point of Oz going
Yeah.
with her?
Have you ever been okay? Have you ever been in a scenario like that with jockey boys
Yep.
when you used to pretend to be straight?
Not even when I would pretend to be straight, but I think even when people knew you were gay, there was still a fascination with like, oh, what you doing? People are just like, oh, how far have you went? And like, I felt her boobies.
No, it used to be. I think I used to hate that. Like, yeah, I've definitely been there. Like with fellas going like, "Oh, this and that," and you just make up stuff, and it's like, no, it didn't do any of that at all. Like, I would really like to just hold her hand.
I remember when a rumor started that I fingered this girl called, and I was fine with it because I was like, yeah, it's totally like
Was this in
masking
primary
my.
school?
No, it was a girl in our estate, and
Oh, right. Okay.
I'll need to blank a bunch of things out there, but
Yeah.
and I was quite happy with that rumor going around because it was like, yeah, fucking finger that fucking pussy. Sorry to our female listeners and male listeners, you probably don't want to hear that either. But
Just sorry, listeners.
I'm not sorry at all.
anyway, did people always ask you what you were doing with boys?
You're such a little bitch.
I know.
But yes, we get introduced to Larry, and he's going like, supposed to be putting out what's the point, all that sort of jock nonsense talk.
Come on, fess up. How far have you got?
Nowhere. I mean, he said he was gonna wait until I was ready, but I'm ready. Honest, I'm good to go here.
I loved her saying, "I want smoochies," is so adorable.
But I want smoochies.
She's so cute. And we're getting another scene here that you love where it's just Buffy and Willow talking about Buffy and Willow.
Oh, none of them know a thing. They all get an F in Willow.
But I want Oz to get an A. And oh, one of those gold stars.
Willow puts her foot in her mouth by saying she doesn't want to be the only girl in school without a real boyfriend.
Oh.
And I like that Buffy's like, it's okay. Like I went like a full, like nearly 2 minutes without thinking about Angel. Buffy says that she'll feel better if her, Willow, and Xander can hang out. And Willow says, well, I'll give Xander a call. Oh, what's his number? 1-800, I'm dating a skanky hoe.
Yeah.
It feels a wee bit out of character for Willow,
I'm gonna disagree a little bit.
but I liked it, is what I mean. But maybe not out of character. Maybe it's the first time we've seen this aspect of.
Yeah, introducing this side of her. It's just very good at you can hold both at the same time.
Yeah,
you can
two
fancy
things
the
can
shit
be
out of
true.
Oz and still be pissed off and jealous, even though you don't want Xander, or you kind of do, but you don't anymore because he's tarnished. You want Oz, but you'd still be like, your nose can be slighted out of shape.
Yes.
Wait, what is it?
Yeah. Your nose can be
Put your
bent
nose
out of shape.
joint. Bent out of joint. Sorry, I just lost my mind there.
Cut off your nose to spite your face.
I said that to Trina one time, and I was like, "You'd still have nose left over," and that was
Oh
really
my
like,
God.
mean.
Yeah, no, she'd need a Beverly Hills surgeon for that honker.
I can slap her about it. You fucking fair enough. Yeah,
I
we're
can
away.
too. Yeah, I love Katrina. We finish up that scene with Willow saying, what does he see in her anyway?
What could she possibly see in him?
And you know what? It was refreshing to see some making out that didn't turn me.
They're very good. They've always had good chemistry, like a normal kiss. They look like two people that know how to kiss.
Yeah. I don't know if
I
that's a
like
weird
it.
commentary for us to make, but
No, but
Okay.
but it's like the same with the coffee cup thing. If it's an empty
Yeah.
coffee cup, I'm like, just fucking know that thing where they go,
yes. One of our followers, what are we, the fucking cult of Manson? One of one of our viewers.
you wouldn't be more Manson. You'd be more like your man that took them all down to Paraguay. Jim Jones. You'd be more Jim Jones person.
I would
You-
be Jim Jones. People don't follow
You're
me
not.
though.
Do you not remember when Big Bad Llama was at the height of like when you were in Belfast still, and like you were famous in Belfast. You were genuinely like
I was basically St. Patrick.
you were St. Paddy LaBelle.
St. Patty. That's a brilliant drag name. St. Patty LaBelle. But anyway, sorry, I was going to say one of our followers, Cultivating Grace, her name's Amanda Grace. She comments on all of our YouTube videos. Thank you so much,
Hi, Amanda. Thanks,
Amanda.
Amanda.
It's our second follower called Amanda.
Amanda.
Cult of Amandas, that's going to be me. I just get all the Amandas to do my biddings.
That is your favorite woman name because there's a man in it.
You're disgusting.
Sorry,
You're
it
gay.
is. Sorry.
But she commented saying that I think it's Misphonia was the name of that when you don't
Oh,
like the
the-
sound.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. If only I had some sort of contraption that I could have looked that up. But I really appreciate you commenting because
Oh, shut up, David!
it happened earlier on. I made Kira cheese toasty. Kira's eating away. She's not thinking, and she accidentally goes, right? But instantly I go, and then I'm like, I have to, and it's like, sorry. I'm like, no, I'm the problem. I'm the one that has the issue here, not you. You're just eating food. My ears just happen to be really offended by the sound of it for some reason.
I wish it affected you to the point where and your response was just like
So we cut to Xander and Cordelia making out in the car.
yes, they're making out
Xander
in the
says
car.
the
Xander
exact
says,
same thing.
what does she see in him anyway? You had your episode last week, so you held yourself back a bit. Xander's like, well, what does she see in him anyway? And Cordelia is raging because she's like, we're in my daddy's car. There's this. I also don't like how she says daddy,
Daddy?
even though I say
No.
daddy.
Daddy ain't your daddy.
But daddy, I love him.
Yeah, but you're not saying it to your dad. Do you say it to your dad?
I do. But when I said, I'm not like, daddy. Like, right, daddy.
Do you even want to be here? Because when you're not babbling about poor, defenseless Willow, you are raving about the all-powerful Buffy.
I do not babble.
To be fair, right? She's got a point. Is my
She
hair
does
look
have
like
a
I'm in an 80s like shit pop band?
Yes, it does.
What's going on with your hair? Why don't you put it in a ponytail?
I don't have a bubble.
Case closed.
I think I look like an artist, but I just look like a fat homeless guy.
You don't actually. I love the length that you've got on top. You just need a wee tighten up on your sides, I think. But I would keep your length on top. It's gorge.
Of course you would.
I love you on top.
You love
Daddy.
length.
They start kissing again, and basically we see that there's an animal watching them, and then we cut to the credits. We go straight back to Xander and Cordelia, and he thinks he hears a noise, and Cordelia's like, right, fuck this. And that's when a werewolf arm bursts through the convertible ceiling, and they drive off screaming. Buffy checks out the tour, and Giles basically confirms that it's a werewolf, and that there'd been like several animal carcasses found mutilated. They do need to be a bit worried about it though, because it will come back next month, and next month's full moon. And that's when Willow says, well, what about tonight's full moon? And Giles is like, oh, do you think like the idea that maybe werewolves actually can be werewolves 3 nights of the month or whatever?
The waxing and waning of the full moon.
That's it. Fucking waxy McWaxerson. Wax on, wax off.
on, wane off.
Wane off. Oh my God.
You've whacked wane off many a times.
Oh my God, I have. I've waned myself off crystal meth.
Very good. And good job.
Thanks. Giles is excited that maybe thanks. Sorry. Because Giles thought that last night was the full moon, Xander makes a joke saying, well, maybe the werewolf is using last year's calendar, which I thought was quite funny. Is an almanac a calendar? Because I just said calendar, so that I didn't have to explain what an almanac was.
I think an almanac is like the
When someone hits you and you're like, almanac?
very good.
And I love that Giles' wee excitement when he's like, werewolves, one of the classics.
It feels like
No.
they're starting to take the piss out of themselves.
They are a wee bit, which I love. We cut to PE and they're learning
Favorite lesson.
Yes, favorite lesson. And they are learning self-defense. We see Larry and he's got like a big like bandage on his arm, and he tells Xander that last week a dog bit him and he had to get stitches.
I've been there, man. My cousin Jordy just got his grown-up teeth in. It's not like to be tickled.
And Larry's being a big mad pervert because he sees this girl called Teresa and he's like, be still my shorts, which I thought was a great line. And I love that basically Buffy pops her wee head in. She's like, I'm in the group too. As if the boys kind of have this reputation that Buffy's like rough.
Don't forget, you're supposed to be a meek little girly girl like the rest of us.
I like that.
Which I love.
Because she was getting pissed off at Larry's chauvinism, wasn't she? Like she's like,
Yeah.
I'll show him kind of vibes.
Larry has to pretend to attack Buffy. And she's pretending to be weak.
Yeah.
I'm like, Buffy, why are you doing it? And yeah, he grabs her like
He nearly bowled her.
he
I was
nearly
like-
pulled her.
And then she absolutely fucks him over the shoulder, not in the way he wanted to.
Obviously, they're setting up this idea that Larry potentially is the werewolf, and that's why he's got all of this male aggression, which is really the point of this episode. It's all about unchecked male aggression. and
Yep.
toxic masculinity. So Giles is giving the gang a wee demonstration on the moon. Well, they're not on the
Like,
moon, they're
on
in
the
the
moon?
library. Xander makes a joke about moon pie, and Giles laughs, and I just think he's so sexy when he laughs. There was something so like sexy about him when he was laughing. Did Kira watch this with you?
No, it was just me.
Because you would have said to me, Kira, you would have been like, Kira said at this point, Giles was really sexy, I bet, because he was. And that's when he tells them that the werewolf comes out for 3 nights in the month. And I love that Giles basically classifies like the behavior of the werewolf as like pure, aggressive, and predatory. And Buffy says, in other words, your typical male.
On behalf of my gender, hey.
And
Very
Giles
good.
is like, no, let's not jump to conclusions.
I didn't jump. I took a tiny step, and their conclusions were.
But Giles does say that the werewolf can literally be anyone because there's loads of girls and stuff now who are hairy and don't shave their armpits. He didn't say that, but I added that part in.
No matter who this werewolf is, it's still a human being who may be completely unaware of his or her condition.
Did you actually not record it?
No. I can just go from, I know where we got up to before, then I actually feel like I could kill myself. I really just felt like it was recording. It takes us back to when Buffy and Giles were at the patrolling for the werewolf. I'm so sorry.
What can we do? Just let's go. I just can't promise I can deliver the same sort of energy. I can't fake it. Tell them.
We just took a little break to go to the bathroom and whatnot, and it turned out we hadn't been recording, so a whole section, a whole 40 minutes, we've just lost. So
This we're going to have to repeat ourselves, and it's
So
going to
it-
feel like quite
it mightn't have,
rehearsed.
it mightn't have the same kind of thing.
Yeah, because
to
I'll
it.
just not want. I'll try. Let's go.
Yeah,
Talk
don't
me
worry.
through. Where are we?
Okay, so Giles and Buffy are patrolling the makeout hotspot. So far away.
Fucking hell.
It's okay because
Are we at the start of the show?
Anyone else wish they were dead?
Giles and Buffy are patrolling the makeout hotspot, and Giles asks Buffy if she's seen anything, and Buffy's like, yes, oh my god, Brittany Podell was making out with Owen Stadil, and he goes with Barrett Williams, so if she ever found out, and Giles gives her like a little look, and he's like, oh, should we knock on windows and see if anyone's seen anything?
Giles, no one's seen anything.
If it had been recorded, you would have heard a great story about dogging and everything, but we're just going to completely skip it.
Boo, you whore.
Sorry you don't get to hear my great story of dogging. Buffy gets swooped up into a net by a hunter named Kane, and he's got a gun. He cuts Buffy down, and he makes a pervy comment about Giles and Buffy being in Lover's Lane.
Well, it's good to get the fruit while it's fresh.
You'd be wise to take that back.
So we find out that Kane has killed 11 werewolves because he can sell their fur for loads of money to make coats for the cast of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
This is high fashion. You wouldn't understand.
But he sells them in Sri Lanka, where he fetches a lot of money. He tells them that the werewolves are attracted to sexual heat, so Buffy pretends she has no idea where it would go, but secretly she does, and she leads Giles to the bronze. Teresa from PE is walking home alone in the dark, and she hears a noise, and I think they're trying to bluff us into thinking it's the werewolf, but she bumps into Angel, who's standing twirling a little buttercup.
Nasty little bastard.
He's like, here, aren't you one of Buffy's mates? I'll walk you home, sure. And then you're also going to miss out on a story I told where I was like, I wouldn't let a stranger walk me home, but I will get in their car and f them off.
That's a true story.
So we cut to the bronze, and we've got Cordelia, who looks incredible in her Tommy Hilfiger sweater, her diamond earrings, and a sleek ponytail. Faggot's kiss. And she's complaining about Xander. If it's not Buffy, it's Willow. It's like I don't exist. And she leans back to reveal that she's talking to Willow.
Good reveal. Didn't expect it. Made me laugh.
I love that. I think it's great. And I love that they're spending more time together. She's becoming part of the core. The core 4? Because there's 4 of them? Oh my god. Willow reveals that she kind of feels like that too, but Cordelia says, well, Xander needs to realize that you've got Oz. And Willow's like, well, I'm not really sure what's happening with him either.
What's he waiting for? What's his problem? Oh, that's right, he's a guy.
And then Willow and her kind of like have a wee feminist moment where like, yeah, who do they think they are? Like a couple of guys. And right then a werewolf drops down on the table right in front of them, and they scream their heads off. Worst strip club ever. So everyone's boosted out of the bronze as Buffy and Giles arrive, and the bronze is completely trashed, which I thought was kind of funny that it was so trashed for the werewolf only being there for 10 seconds. Buffy slinks around looking for the werewolf, and this is where I realized that this was the set from the talent show because there's a phone on the wall in the bronze that we talked about in season 1. The werewolf slinks out from behind the drum kit and he's like, "Where'd everyone go, Buffy?" And Buffy's got a chain and she tries to restrain it, but it jumps out the window. Before we deleted this part, we were like, we were talking about that we like the effects of the werewolf.
Yes, no, we can talk about that. I really love the VFX, the fact that it's a real thing in the room, even though you can
practical effects.
Thank you, puppeteering, or whether it's a person in a suit. Regardless,
Yeah.
I just think I will always just prefer that over. And I am not. I think when you hear like a lot of people who are maybe older, they always go like, "Oh, it's better back in the day." Like I grew up, Toy Story was like one of the first things I seen. It was like one of the first movies I remember watching. It's fully CGI, fully animated, so I get it. I just really love when monsters are real and somebody can actually punch a thing in the face, and I'm
Yep.
willing to suspend my disbelief, knowing that that's a person in a suit. The same way I'm willing to suspend my disbelief that this tiny blonde girl can throw someone 6'2" over her shoulder and you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I love it. I thought the werewolf looked great. Reminded me of the Harry Potter werewolf.
Yes.
From the movies.
From
That
Sirius
tall,
Black.
lanky Sirius Black, yeah. A tall, not just Sirius Black. There was other ones.
That fucking geek.
Kane the hunter is like, "Buffy, why the fuck do you let her get away? You should be in the kitchen making me a sandwich, not werewolf hunting," and other various misogynistic things that he says to her. He also tells her that if the werewolf hurts anyone, it's going to be her fault. And he delivers a wee funny line where he's like,
First they tell me I can't hunt an elephant for its ivory. Now I've got to deal with people for the ethical treatment of werewolves.
Giles calls him a pillock. Pillock. Such an English swear word. This is where we had a whole chat about saying Americans love to say wanker.
They do love to say wanker. Spike says wanker.
But they don't realize that wanker means masturbator.
Maybe they do, but they don't realize that in the UK that would have been below the. It's like how they can't say damn.
Goddamn. Anyway, so we see the werewolf in an alley and he's following a wee trail of blood and it comes across Teresa, who's got a big vampire bite in her neck. And Angel in his vampire face walks away after facing off with this apex predator.
You little bitch.
Buffy and Giles can't seem to find the werewolf, but they do happen to hear a radio report that is announcing the death of Teresa and how it's been linked.
Where did they hear that radio report?
On the radio.
On the radio. Wow. On the radio. Wow. Such a gay song.
I know. So I was doing the Martine McCutcheon cover as well.
I know you were. That's I actually know you were. Go ahead.
And they're linking the death to the recent animal mutilations. Buffy's clearly affected by this because of obviously what Kane said to her earlier, that any deaths will be on her head. And because she had PE with her one time, she's her best friend. So Giles is like, "I wouldn't worry about it, chick. We've still got one more night to find the werewolf." So we cut to the sunrise and we see the werewolf is sleeping and it transforms back into its human form and it's Oz.
What the hell just happened?
But he's big when he's a werewolf. A werewolf. Sorry.
What did he wake up and say?
He said, "Huh." And we were talking about how much we love Seth Green and how great he is and how he plays Chris Griffin. We did save ourselves about 20 minutes trying to figure out his name, to be fair.
I know you're getting the real cut down version. It was good stuff too.
It's fine. It's going to get good for the third act, so if you can stick with us. Actually, I could end up seeing people being like, "I love this version," where you're just like rattling through it and not talking loads of shite. We cut to Oz on the phone and he's calling his aunt Maureen, which Americans love to call Maureen.
Maureen.
Also the name of Sidney Prescott's mother, who was raped and murdered in Scream. Sorry, not in real life. So he calls his Aunt Maureen and he's like, "Quick question for you. Is Cousin Geordie a werewolf?" And then we don't hear the response, but he's like, "Okay, and how long's that been going on for?" So yeah, Oz is obviously, you were asking the question, does that mean that his like little baby cousin is a
Yeah.
werewolf, which I love. I love the idea of, and I love that it's never mentioned again. So in the library, the gang are discussing the werewolf, and Buffy mentions that the werewolf got Teresa. Oz is being a little sus because guess what? He's a werewolf. And Xander says he's practically an expert on werewolves because one time he turned into a hyena. Sorry for that delivery, it was just insane. Xander says, I know what it's like to crave the taste of freshly killed meat and to be taken over by those uncontrollable urges. And Buffy's like, you said you didn't remember anything about that? So you did?
I quite like that. Was quite. That was Sander. I haven't bitched about Sander in a long time.
He's not being too problematic yet in this episode. Actually, no, he has been already because he was complaining about Oz. So Xander's like, I can get inside his head, and he starts, pretending to be a werewolf or whatever. And he pretty much comes to the conclusion that it's Larry because of the aggressiveness and the bite that he's got on his arm. So I like this little bluff that we're getting, and Xander goes off to talk to Larry. Oz is clearly distracted, and Willow's trying to console him and invites him to help her research, but he ends up leaving kind of awkwardly, and Buffy kind of sees the whole thing, and Willow looks devastated. And I do love that they're putting their friendship above a lot of the action here, because that's what really obviously draws us into the show, is our
It's
love
what
for the
keeps you there.
characters.
The actions are good, but you stay for the friendship. Do you know what I mean? You're right for the vampires, but you stay for the friendship.
That's like us. I love your face when you do it. It's gorgeous. We cut to Larry in the locker room, and Xander's questioning him, implying that he knows he's the werewolf, and that he knows his secret, and he knows where he's been going at night, or what he's been doing.
You say wolf, a really interesting wolf.
Wolf. Wolf.
Wolf.
Wolf.
Wolf.
Wolf. Well, there's no U in wolf.
Wolf.
Wolf. Wolf. Wolf.
You speak like a poor person. That's what it is. You speak like an uneducated person.
Oh, I didn't realize we were getting into class wars on here.
I know, I just find that in. I just sometimes love saying stuff to you to see what you say because you have a really good reaction face. Oh, by reaction face, it's this.
I am a poor person, so that.
What's that, David? You tell a really good joke? That's your reaction to any joke that I make in this fucking podcast.
I laugh at
Even
loads
though
of your jokes.
9 out of 10 of our audience say that I'm the funnier one. But anyway, we'll not talk about that poll I made last week.
They definitely don't. They don't even know your name. You're just co-host.
Finally, we can admit it. Finally, I've got you to admit it. Finally.
You're my co-host. We are co-hosts together.
No, there's one host and a co-host.
No, we're co-hosts. Like at Eurovision, when I'm manifesting us co-hosting Eurovision. I love magic tricks. They really get me. Oh, actually, I want to buy like a magic trick set so I can. You're magic or something. You're a witch.
Witch. Here, this here. So I'm gonna take I'm gonna put it in this hand like this. I'm gonna follow it like this, and it's gone.
God, you should have your own TV show before Gladiators on a Saturday night, like revealing the magician's secrets.
I really fit you're taking the test, but fuck you, that was such a good TV show. I loved that so much.
I see, so did I, and I'm not even joking. And it was hosted by like
cat mask thing.
It was hosted by like Skinner from X-Files or something.
Yes. And then he reveals himself at the last episode.
It would have been brilliant if he pulled it off and he just disappeared into smoke, and that would have been the best way to end that.
Why so jumpy, Larry?
Geeks make me nervous.
Is that really it, or is there something you're hiding?
Did we talk about Larry?
So Larry's in the locker room, and
Xander's questioning him, implying that he knows he's the werewolf. He knows the secret. I just wasn't sure what point we got to. But basically, anyway, there's a big misdirection here, and it leads to a confession that Larry is gay.
How are people going to look at me after they find out I'm gay?
So Xander panics basically because Larry then assumes that Xander is gay, but Larry's like, "Your secret's safe with me," and then kisses him on the cheek. He doesn't, but that would be funny.
What a good who did.
Your secret's safe with me.
So yeah, we get this confession that Larry is gay, and that's probably a great time to segue to a little treat for our fans, which is an interview with this character, actor Larry Bagby III. Larry, I just want to thank you so much for coming to have a wee chat.
We're going to chat about we?
Not a wee chat, yeah. That's a different podcast.
Chat. I love it. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for for having me and for being patient with me as we tried to schedule this.
Did you have any idea at the time of the lasting impact that Buffy the Vampire Slayer would have on pop culture, and how your performance as Larry would make an impact on people around the world as Buffy's first gay character?
Yeah, I was very surprised that I mean, I guess looking back at it was pretty bold, right? For Joss to start to incorporate like the reality, which I'm glad he did in so many ways, because I think, I've had some experiences when I've been out and about at Comic Cons and things where um, young folks that are maybe a little older now, but when they were watching the show, they were, junior high or high school, and probably holding a lot in because it wasn't something that people were, encouraged to come out and talk about, right? And a lot of bullying and things. And so I've had many come to me and say, how much the show influenced them, but also my character, that that they were able to kind of cope and secretly deal to get them through it until they were able to speak out about it and to be themselves in that regard. So that makes me happy that I could, I know there's a lot of mental health, and that's real, and I'm very aware, and I've dealt with my own depression and struggles at times, and so, you know, to think that maybe lives were saved, I know I'm not saying that I'm some, savior of some kind, but I appreciate that, with what I do, sometimes I feel like, am I helping really? You know, some of these roles, I play bad guys or whatever it be, but if it helps move along the story, and there's a greater outcome, most art and things are inspiring, and there's usually generally a a somewhat happy ending, right? Because we can escape from our reality with entertainment. I think it's always been that way. That's why people we wanted to go to movies or go to see shows. And so anyway, it that makes me feel really good that I've been able to, impact people and maybe change their lives for the better and for the more comfortable living, right?
I was 12 when that episode came out. So as someone who was starting to think about sexuality or the struggles that I would have, it was really refreshing to see that it wasn't what we would have called a stereotype of someone who was gay. That Larry
Right.
was the
I mean,
jock
I
and
was
he was.
tough and a bully. I was like, but what's funny is I'm nice. once, once whatever that secret was, which wasn't, I'm not a werewolf, but I am gay, and and then to see that he goes from saying thank you thigh master to picking up the girl's book. So yeah, I can relate, and we all connect with certain characters, and then we want to watch the show because it reminds us of maybe us or someone else we know, and it maybe helps us learn how to deal with it. Oh, they dealt with it this way. Well, maybe there's some way I can deal with it.
And if I'm honest too, it kind of gave me the confidence to go after some of the jocks in my school.
You're gonna find all those bullies.
Yeah, I was like, they're just picking on me because they fancy me.
Yeah. I'd seen many episodes, but not the whole complete. And so when Vero started to watch it, I also was able to watch, what I had done as my role kind of in sequence. And it's really fun to watch. It's because it's really well written. And I love, just I mean, everything he wrote was so particular. And with that show, I don't know if you've heard, but like it was like you couldn't miss a line because it was so the rhythm you couldn't make up or kind of tweak where if it's the, not right. So the script supervisor was on it so we all really knew our lines, but I get it because there was a rhythm, and he, he knew it, and so but that made it work, kept the pacing going.
We spend the majority of, well, I spend the majority of our episodes me just repeating lines that that I thought were genius or well played. And one of the things that I commented on in this episode, one of your lines was "Be still my shorts."
Teresa, right? To
Yeah,
Teresa.
yeah.
The Be still my shorts.
Teresa, be still my shorts.
I just wanted to ask if playing Larry if that changed your perspective on LGBTQ plus representation in media at the time, because like we were saying, it was 1998 and there wasn't really a lot, if any, other
Yeah.
outwardly gay characters.
I think what I really liked about that was, like you said, that it wasn't the stereotypical gay. Like, it was like this guy was a jock, right? And bully kind of. I mean, we know why he was kind of bullying, but he still loved guy things, and probably maybe was staring a little longer in the locker room, but
Okay,
stayed
been there.
after class. But no, I think it's great that that this type of stereotype, it kind of snubbed it. Like, it created some that, for all the people that are like, okay, I can't relate to that, but this I might be able to relate to. I think I'm somewhere in between that, or whatever it be. I think that's great, if that was able to help them in that regard. I didn't know much at the time. I think it was, in 1998, it was still, we're all kind of navigating. And, I grew up Mormon, and, that was one of the things that I also respected Joss. I don't know if you knew this, but when I did the Halloween episode, it was just a one-off. Like, it was just a character guest star. And a couple months later, I got a call, and it was Josh, and he said, I had this other role that I had written. It's like a football player, but I really liked what you did. But this guy ends up being gay. Are you comfortable with that? Because he knew of my religion, and which I thought was great. I mean, he was very respectful of that. He must have done some research on me or something, because I had served a mission. I had gone on a mission for my church before, so I took 2 years and went to Argentina on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was amazing. It was really great for me. I grew a lot, and then I came back, and I booked Buffy not too long after I got home. But yeah, it was really cool, and I was comfortable with it in that I didn't have to do anything that crossed lines for me. It was more tongue in cheek, but I thought it was really well written, and I loved that the whole werewolf thing was just such a great way to come out. It's just like, it's so perfect. And then I love that him and Xander have this other relationship after, where he's like, man, if you need to come out, just come out, man. that Freddie Iverson, right? That guy's weird, that Freddie Iverson guy. And then that's when I say, I'm so gay, I got my grandma fixing me up with guys. Was that the line? Something like that. Or geeks make me nervous.
That was one of the things when we were watching this episode, we would just like that locker room scene with Xander, because of the way it's written, when he's like, I knew what you're doing at night, and I just love that.
What are people gonna think when they find out?
Yeah,
I heard you the first time.
really, really brilliant misdirect, and really, really well kind of played.
That was so fun. I remember that day, because I came in. It was the first thing I shot that day, and we were right next where we shot Buffy. It was the Santa Monica High School, I think, right there. We were in the locker room, and but it was so fun. I had such a fun. It was fun to memorize and work on that scene. And then when we got together, there was a great chemistry. He was a lot of fun to work with, but he was so talented, man, and really is. I'm sure he still is. But he made it really fun. That's like what an actor dreams, is to be able to work with people that you give and they give back even more, and then it's like becomes great little tennis back and forth thing, you know.
Well, that kind of segues into another question I had, which was just if you had any particularly fun or unexpected memories that you could share from your time on set.
On Buffy. Well, one thing was cool. I mean, there was several things. But Sarah Michelle Gellar, I was getting married for the first time. And she got me she like took time and got us a wedding gift. Like it was very I was surprised. It was some very nice sheets and pillowcases, which I wish I would have kept. Well, Sarah. But yeah, that was cool. But as far as like on set stuff, I just remember like I mean, there was always a great crew, and I remember the night we were doing it was the pirate, you know, where I'm in the alley that first Halloween thing. I think that's what it was. Oh no, you might have been down when I did the Wish, which was cool. I was hoping because I became one of the Scooby gang, right? I thought maybe, yeah, maybe they'll make me like, you know, a character that goes on even more. But you know, the script, I remember that day too when Josh came and he said, people are gonna die. Here's the and I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, we'd hate to see you go, man. But it's just the way it is, and it's reality, like people die. So it was a fun way to go out though. I had the flamethrowers I was representing, I was flaming, and I get freaking knocked, you know, by the tail of the dragon. But I fought a good fight, man.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Third Blaisdell. That was kind of fun too. My name is Larry. The character was always Larry. So I remember thinking, this is my role, like right away. I loved, you know, I play a bully kind of jock and many things, so I was very prepared. And then after I did a few more episodes, then he gave me a last name, but he did it based on Bagby, my last name Blaisdell. Just kind of makes it, you know, more personal.
The last question I've got for you, Larry, is it's a two-parter, but I will just pre-warn anyone who is watching the episode with us for the first time and they haven't got to season 3 to put your fingers in your ears now. But I just wanted to ask what you think about the news of the Buffy continuation, and also if Larry had made it past graduation, what do you think he would be doing in 2025?
Oh, good questions. Well, Buffy reboot, I love this idea. I mean, it looks like it's going to happen, right? It was very sad that Michelle passed away, you know, not too long after. I'm sure she was probably committed to doing that as well, I'm guessing.
I imagine that she would have been.
Maybe they'll do some kind of tribute to her in some fashion. I know whoever they got to write and direct it was a huge fan of the show. So that makes me happy because that maybe gives me a chance to somehow come back, even though I'm dead.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Do you remember the line that was mentioned many seasons later when the rat, who's the rat that comes back?
Amy.
What did she say? You remember?
She wanted when she wanted to see if he would ask her
wanted
to
me
prom.
to go. Yeah. So they said she said 3 problems.
1, Larry's gay. 2, Larry's dead. And 3, high school's kind of over.
For anyone who's watching, please make sure to go like, follow, subscribe, and give a lot of love to Larry Bagby. Thank you. Thank you so much, Larry Bagby, for talking to us. It was fantastic to have you tell us a little bit about
yourself. Larry Teabag Me the Third. We really appreciate you coming on to the show, and honestly, it was great to have our first ever cast member from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy and Willow are in the library screening people who could be the werewolf, and there's only one other name with loads of run-ins with authority, and they've got a screen full of violent incidents, and Buffy's like,
most of those were not my fault. Somebody else started them. I was just standing up for myself.
They say it's a good idea to count to 10 when you're angry.
1.
And they have a wee chat about Oz, and Buffy says, well, maybe you need to make the first move. And Willow's like, well, won't that make me a slut? And Buffy's like, I think your reputation will remain intact. And then Willow gets pregnant. And then season 3, she has her baby in school.
Have fun having a baby at your prom.
That someone
Kind of-
imprints on. No, wait, that's Twilight.
Oh, there's Twilight.
You imprinted on my daughter?
Oh, and he calls her Nessie, and she's like,
You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?
it's entertaining. So Willow says it used to be so much easier when guys would just like punch you in the arm so you know that they liked you. And Xander appears and gives
No,
Buffy
I
a
noticed
little-
this. Sander came in and punched Buffy in the arm.
Well done. Well done, girl. He didn't know it before, but he stole it now.
He's a liar and a cheater.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it originally. Tony had to tell me. This is our 4th time round, isn't it? Can you make
Yeah.
sure you're recording this one?
Yeah.
Sure.
So Larry's in the locker room. So Willow goes off to Willow goes off to help Cordelia with her history homework, and she says, I think that means I actually have to do it. And Xander looks like he's a little worried about them spending time together. Buffy asks Xander about Larry, but Xander is jumpy and he says it's not him.
He's not the werewolf. Can't we just leave it at that? Must you continue to push and push?
Buffy says they're back at square zero. Buffy kind of seems sad when she says she wishes that she could have saved Teresa before she was ripped apart by that werewolf. And as she's saying werewolf, she realizes that it didn't actually say that her body was mauled. They just assumed that she was.
What else should we have assumed?
Vampire.
So does this mean that Oz has been mauling people around the town?
Small animals, no people, just small animals. They made
Thank
a
you.
point. They made a point of saying
I was
that.
wondering. Yeah, fair.
So I had previously mentioned before, we don't often see people in Buffy die who are the same age as like Buffy. So it does feel like, even though we've just met Teresa in this episode, the way it's played, it feels like it's got a little bit of weight to it. Buffy goes to sign Teresa's memorial book, and Xander tells her that she can't blame herself for all the deaths of Sunnydale, because if it wasn't for her, Willow would be Robbie the robot's love slave. Xander wouldn't have a head.
And Teresa's a vampire.
And I love Teresa's big vampire mouth because it's so much bigger than her actual mouth. And her teeth are all mental sharp. I love it. So Teresa attacks Buffy and they have a wee tussle, and Buffy's about to stake her when Teresa's like, Angel sends his love. And it catches Buffy off guard, and Teresa gets the upper hand before she's staked from behind by Xander with an easel.
Love
And
to see it. Really sharp easel.
Yeah, very sharp.
Real
Easel
sharp.
Kniezel. But
It's just mental to me, right? You just said those words because you just went easel, evil, evil Knievel, easel Pniezel, which is brilliant, right? But you weren't even thinking about it. Your ADHD adult brain just had to say those words. I just love it. I just love that you couldn't. And I honestly was about a half a second away from saying the exact
Easel.
same thing because it was easel Knievel.
Buffy seems visibly shocked, so she rolls over and says, Angel.
Angel. I want us to do that every time that something happens. We need to go like, Angel.
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 Xander helps her up, and they have this moment where they kind of hug, but she hugs him really tight because she's traumatized or whatever, but there's definitely something else going here. This is, and I
Do you
did
want to quote
actually...
the right?
What?
I
You
just
don't-
talked over you. I apologize.
No, what were you going to say? You don't want to quote?
I don't want to quote the Cranberries, but there's definitely a wee linger.
Oh, yeah. Do you have to let it linger? Xander's like, Buffy, do you know I'm such a fool for you? Anyway, so they really were going to kiss, and I did post on Reddit about this to ask people's opinions, and they did say, a lot of people said what I already knew, which there was a plan initially for Buffy and Xander to get together. That was going to be the end game for the end of the series, but
No
luckily they didn't go down with it.
There's
But Buffy,
zero chemistry.
yeah, well, in this part it kind of proved differently. And then Xander says, as Buffy goes away, "Oh, as if my life isn't complicated enough." So we cut to Kane, and he's inside his van, and he's using a wee school Bunsen burner to melt some silver and make bullets. And just for anyone who has got to this point, we're now in the part where we haven't talked about it before, so we'll be back to our normal selves. However, a wee Bunsen burner would not actually really be hot enough to melt silver.
Literally going to be my question. Did you say melt or smelt?
Is it smelt?
I think you smelled.
Oh, he who smelled it dealt it.
He thinks he's so funny.
Either way, he's melting some silver to make some silver bullets because obviously, you know, the werewolf tradition, they can only be killed by silver. Oh my god. So we cut to Oz and he's in his house and he's got this big box of chains and Willow shows up at his door and she kind of forces her way in.
I had this whole thing worked out, and I had it written down, but then it didn't make any sense when I was reading it back.
In a panic, and she's like, well, what am I supposed to think? Like, instead of being with me, you're here all alone. And he's like, can we talk about this tomorrow? And she's like, no, damn it, we'll talk about this now.
No, damn it! We'll talk about this now.
In this performance that she gives, there was something very Lisa Kudrow about it. Like her frenetic energy. Oh my god, that's a good word, isn't it?
Yeah, frenetic, did you say?
Yeah.
Love it.
And it just really reminded me of like Phoebe. It's the way her voice goes up and down, you know, like the sorry, that was
when she gets a bit manic, when she gets a bit like
frenetic.
I never would have that, but you're so right. I can see that with Alison Hannigan anyway, like a Lisa Kudrow kind of vibe.
Oz says it's not her, it's him. He's going through some changes, and Willow's like, yeah, well, do you know what? Everyone is like, so what? You're special. What? You're special. She's like, you're a special boy with your chains and stuff.
Oh, what? So now you're special? You're a special boy with chains and stuff?
That actually made me laugh. Though, your special little boy with your chains.
Yeah, you're a special boy with chains and stuff. And she's like, why do you have chains? And then in that moment, Oz starts to change. And he screams for her to leave and he falls behind the sofa. And I just loved it. This was just a great way to do this. Like, he falls behind the sofa out of view. It's a real practical great way. And I love the way we see him transform, the way his fingers kind of elongate. And we get a half human Oz face / werewolf.
I think that's a play on American
Werewolf in Paris. Oh my god, we're in love with each other.
I think there's one from the 80s or something, but there's a famous practical effects that they use to extend, where they've got the guy's hands and they extend out, but they've actually like put like rods and they stretch the latex underneath the hand, so it like looks like his fingers are actually. It's just amazing when you watch, because the way latex is skin like and has that obviously. Yeah, it's really cool. You should look that up. It's really cool. But I think it was a pastiche or something to that. I think they're paying
a pastiche bap.
That pastiche, actually.
He turns into the werewolf, but he pops up from behind the sofa, and Willow screams, and I just love this because it's a full, hearty, real
full
reaction.
Belly. Full belly.
Scream. It's a screamer. So she runs out of the back of the house and down the street, and she climbs over this fence. I love that is just not what I would choose to do. Instead of keep running down the street with no obstacles, she chooses to try and climb over the fence. That seems a bit tough for her, which I kind of like.
Yeah, for the monster that's the same height as the fence.
Yeah, and she ends up smacking the monster with a bin. The werewolf manages to chase Willow into the woods, and she trips up, and we think the wolf is going to get her, but he's distracted by something he smells. We cut to the library, and we see Giles is preparing a tranquilizer gun when Buffy shows up and tells him that Teresa was a vampire, a gift from Angel. And Giles is like, Buffy, oh, I'm so sorry. Which I like that he's still like, he's supporting her in that way. And Buffy's like, oh, we'll cry about it later, whatever. We need to get this werewolf first. And I love, they're like, well, where are we going to start? And that's when Willow literally bursts in and she's like, it's Oz, it's Oz.
Yeah, that was good.
He said he was going through all these changes, then he went through all these changes.
Kane is about to shoot Oz in the woods, who he's been distracted with a packet of your fucking stewing meat on in the background. And he's about to shoot him right when Buffy fly kicks him and gets the gun. And then I love that we cut to see Buffy fighting the werewolf, but it's like, he's like wrestler holding her and she's like, oh
yeah, that's right.
Which I thought that was so funny for some reason. And she's just wearing such an impractical coat for fighting. I know it's not a big deal, but it's like she's wearing like this tight, like long trench leather jacket. And I'm just like, no, check. Willow ends up being the one to trank him, which I quite liked.
Yeah. Because we've had Xander's kill the in this episode. We've now had her doing so. That's kind of cool.
It's also, I love the idea that there's also been this talk from like, oh, a girl can never, you know, the thought of a girl being able to get the werewolf, and that ends up being Willow, the weakest of
That's of
all of them.
the Scooby Gang. Yeah.
So Willow tranks him. Yes. Buffy shows Kane how strong she is. Oh, he says, "Oh yeah, no wonder there's like monsters all running around." No, sorry. No wonder there's monsters all fucking way down around your own door, because nobody in this town is man enough to stop them. And Buffy bends his gun in front of him.
Yeah, I like that. I was waiting on her doing that. I was waiting on her to show. So that's how strong she can bend metal. That's how strong
Yeah.
she is.
She's a bender. Buffy the Vampire Bender. Buffy the Airbender. So she's like, "Don't let the door kick you in the ass on the way out of town." I hated that line. It made me cringe.
Yeah, it's awful. It's like
know.
a
"Don't let the door hit you where God split you."
or just fuck off.
Willow asks if Oz is going to be okay, and Giles is like, "Yeah, he'll be a little sore, but he's going to be Oz." And Giles reiterates to Willow, like, "You saved us." I'm like, "Yes, Willow's a hero." Next day in school, Xander's like, "I'll never be able to look at him the same way again." And Buffy's like, "He's still a human." And Xander's confused. He's like, "Wait, who are we talking about?" Because he's obviously talking about Larry.
Here, let me get those.
Oh, because he felt heard and understood.
And he's like, "I love your hair. What are you doing?"
No, that's really good. That's a really nice way of like if
He's had a
like,
growth
that
moment.
but also like because he was understood and vindicated. It's not the right word, but like
Yeah.
heard, I guess, by
Yeah.
Xander, regardless of whether or not. That's cool. I quite like that little like button to his story.
Larry comes over to Xander in front of Buffy, and he's really nice to him. And he's like, "Thanks for helping me out," or whatever.
Xander, look about what you did. I owe you.
What'd you do?
It's really nothing we should be talking about, ever.
And Buffy's like, "Well, that's weird." And he's like, "What? That's so weird that like one guy would talk to another like in the locker room where absolutely nothing happened." And she's like, "No, I meant that he didn't try to look up my skirt." And Buffy says, "Oh, maybe it's the moon making people weird." And that's one of the things I love. I love, obviously the word lunatic and lunacy all comes from the moon, because they would say the moon would make people be mental, which I love.
I
All
thought
that.
it was I thought it was a girl thing. That's why women are only ever referred to as lunatics, and I think that or it was invented to do with women because it was like a period thing. Thought that's why they were using lunar to be a. Maybe I'm just making that up.
It does stuff to people.
I've heard that.
Certainly going to put a strain on Willow and Oz's relationship.
And Xander's like, "Well, like what life can they have together? Like Oz will, he's a werewolf and she's not." And Buffy says, "Well, I think Oz is the loyal type." And Xander's like, "Well, if it was up to me," and Buffy's like, "Well, Xander, it's not up to you." And I'm like, big girl getting told. Willow approaches Oz outside, and he tells her that Giles said that he would be okay. And he's like, he did a diagram with a globe. Obviously, he did with them earlier.
I'm sorry about how all this ended up with me shooting you and all.
It's okay. I'm sorry I almost ate you.
And she's like, "You got a chance to do it now, baby."
Please stop.
Willow says, like, "I'm a wee bit upset because I thought you maybe would have told me." And he's like, "Well, I didn't really know how to tell you, but I understand if you never want to see me again." And she's like, "No, I do want to see you." And she gives a great line here where she's like,
3 days out of the month. I'm not much fun to be around either.
That was so good. Yes, Joss Whedon wrote that. Didn't know himself. He made her say that. Yeah, women
Yeah.
are mean sometimes. To me.
So she says, "I'm still into seeing you if you're still into seeing me." But she caveats by saying, "No biting." Which I thought was kind of cute. And she walks off, but she rushes back to stick the lips on him. I loved it. And then Oz says, "A werewolf in love." And it was so cheesy as fuck, but I loved it.
He delivered it though. It was cheesy as fuck. But it's because he hasn't delivered anything cheesy up until now.
His performance is so sincere.
Yes, sincere. Yeah, I believe him.
And again, it's like the idea of like he's commenting on the absurdity
Yeah.
of it, which I loved. I did notice here that Will must have an endless supply of Adidas backpacks, because in the last 3 backpacks we've seen her have are all different backpacks, but they're all Adidas. So there must have been like not cultural appropriation. What do you call that? Product placement. Sorry. But they're all
Also
really
appropriating them Germans, eh?
And it did make me think about the fact that, like, when we were in school, like, you got one bag and that was the last of the whole year, and you were lucky if your bag didn't end up with like loads of bits of food and stuff in the bottom, like, all year, and
Disgusting.
and
Bit of
stuff like.
leftover sandwich and all. Gross.
And I'm like, imagine having to have all those different bags, which is mental. And that's pretty much the end of that episode.
Did you know the story about Adidas?
Yes, the two brothers,
Adidas
Adidas and Puma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were like in the same city.
Yeah, I used
Nazis
to
like
I used to work for Shoe and other companies where I've done shoots for Adidas before. I'll
You
insert
don't
them
need to
here.
be a dick about it. I was just asking if you knew about it. You didn't need to be
I
a
do fucking know.
sarky. So that's no problem. See, the next time you bring up anything about singing, it's like, well, as a professional singer for 20 years, yeah, I do know how to do that thing. You smug prick.
I love listening to you talk about singing. Remember that time you were on The Voice? And that was that episode. And I absolutely loved kind of, it was such a wee self-contained story, but it does add still to the overarching. Obviously, it's going to have ramifications for Oz.
I mean,
and
Oz
Will.
is literally a fucking werewolf. So
Yeah.
unless they just forget that, or just we never see
No.
them over a full moon from now until the end of season 7. Anyway, folks, thank
But
you
yeah.
so much for watching and listening
but
and
yeah, I love
downloading
that.
and streaming.
It's my week.
Oh,
You're just like, I want to go to bed. Sorry, I'll be very quick. Everyone,
wanna
thank
go
you,
to
thank you so much for. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Especially the little lull we had in the middle where we had to repeat ourselves. But
but
make
you
sure.
don't know that. It's just going to look like one episode, but it'll be
No,
like...
we told them.
Yeah.
We told them as it was happening.
I know, that's going to explain.
Can you shut the fuck up and wait till it's your week to say something interesting? Good. Now that he's gone. Don't go anywhere. Okay, good. You're still gorgeous. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't, because more than like 90% of people who watch our videos don't subscribe. It would really help us out, and it's completely free to do. You can follow us on Instagram as well, and TikTok. It's Up the Buff Pod. You can also subscribe to our Patreon if you would like to have access to our exclusive midweek mini pod where we talk about all things that we can't really fit in here. We answer viewer questions, we tell silly stories, and it's less than the price of a coffee for a month, you know, so that really would be great. So it would. That's it, guys. Just wanted to say goodbye, my
Bye, my
bye, my goodbye, my
Bye, my
bye, my
Bye, my
bye, my
Bye, my Bye, my
do you have-
babies.
Bye, my boobies.
Bye, bye,
David,
babies.
do you have time for some cyber?